Have
This
connected
conference
only.
will now be recorded.
Okay, we will discuss about what is testing principles. So these are the testing principles by ISTQB standards, and we will follow these principles overall across wherever we do the software testing. So testing shows presence of defect means what? When we do the testing, it will show the defects means what are the faults in the system. But we cannot say that there are no defects beyond that. Suppose you tested one application, which may be Amazon application, and you found 10 defects. You cannot say that there are more defects than this. We cannot say. We can only say that these are the 10 defects I found. So it only shows the defects, the presence of the defects. We cannot say there are no defects beyond this. Okay. The next test principle is exhaustive testing not possible. It is also little bit similar. Exhaustive testing means I tested entire application and there are no defects at all. We cannot say that. So entirely testing the application and confirming that there are no defects in the application, it's not possible. No one can do that. So with this principle as a QA we are saved. So we can say this to client that exhaustive testing is not possible. We tested these scenarios for application, like you have created some test scenarios to test, consider 100 test scenarios you have, and we will give that report to client saying that these are the 100 scenarios that we tested and this is a result of this 100 scenarios that we found. So in this, out of these 100, everything is pass and these are the results. Now we cannot say that there are no test scenarios behind this or there are no defects beyond this. We will only say that this is the work we have done and this is the test results that we have got for the test scenarios that we tested. So exhaustive testing is not possible means saying that or confirming that I tested the application and there are no defects at all. We cannot say that. There can be defects and there might be smaller issues or there might be. So with this, can we say that okay, whatever amount of testing we will do and we will just say that exhaustive testing is not possible and we will leave everything to the client saying that okay, this is what we have done? That is also not correct. So exhaustive testing is not possible. It is applicable for minor issues, whereas we always look for all important features are working and all important features are tested. The high priority features or high priority scenarios are tested working fine, but beyond that, some minor issues look and feel or some minor defects, some things can be there, like which are rarest of rare scenarios that a user can come across. Those things may not work or we have not tested, so we will give the test cases. These are the scenarios as the important scenarios we considered and we have tested and this is the result. So with this test principle we can communicate or we have to communicate this way. So we will never say that testing is exhaustive testing is done. Okay, next test principle is early testing. So what is early testing? Early testing says that you have to test as soon as possible, like start the testing from the early stage of development. Means what exactly? Early step means what? Like suppose your development team you have and they started the development in the month of Jan and 2023. Okay, and they will start means what they will do, they will understand the requirement, right? So they will understand requirement and then they will design some code and high level design, low level design, system design, everything will go on later on. So the QA should also start from the same Jan 2023. What they will do, they will also understand, right? When as a QA you have to test something means you also have to understand. When the developers are understanding, the QA should also start understanding about. So when the developers are designing the system design, then QA should design the test cases, scenarios, and Once the application is ready for testing, testing can happen. So if, for example, this is about early testing, clear? Yes. For example, if we have not started the testing in the same month when the development started, or when the development started working on the project, the team started, if we do not start, so consider an example, Jan to June, the development only happened, and then in the June or July the QA team started testing. So they need a time to understand, they need time to design the test scenarios, test cases. You cannot ask everyone, so you cannot ask everyone immediately to contribute or like test it without even understanding. So the time is needed to understand, design scenarios, and it will be accurate if the time is given. Otherwise what will happen, the testing will go wrong, or everything whatever Jan to June was developed, if QA at a later time they join and they understand or they realize that whatever the development was done was wrong, so entire work has to be done again, so there is a rework. If testing is not done, lot of rework can be there, and it will lead to not having the development done within the times. So early testing is, the testing principle says, start the testing as soon as the development started. Okay. Next test principle is defect clustering. So with this principle, what it says is defects can be in the cluster. Means what? We have modules. Suppose you have module, and and in the module, some modules are difficult to develop. So those modules may have more defects. Suppose you have Amazon application that you are testing, and you have payment module which is complex. You may have so many defects in the payment module, whereas you have like there are no defects at all in the mobile screen, because there are only mobiles available, the screen and the images and the description. It is simple to develop, and there are no defects, it is possible. So this principle says that defect clustering, defects will be in the cluster, defects will never be in the even. Like not in the even means they are not evenly distributed. Defects will be more or less based on the complexity of the application. Clear? Okay. We'll move to next test principle, that is pesticide paradox. How many of you know what is pesticide that we use in the farms? We know, right?
It
So
is used to
when
kill the
we have, yes, it is used to kill the insects.
insects. Yeah.
Yes. So we use the pesticide to kill the insects. What will happen, suppose if we are using same pesticide over and over again and again, same one? It will be of no use. Down the line, after a few months or a year, it will be of no use, because insects will have immunity developed within them, so that they are not killed. That happens. Same way testing also, if you just test same 100 test cases over a time again and again, you will not be able to find new defects. Suppose I tested Amazon application with 100 test cases on a, like, when we started testing, suppose we have 100 test cases, and in the round 1 of testing, 80 are pass and 20 are fail. So you found 20 defects, you reported, then 20 defects are fixed, 20 are fixed, and again you did the retesting of all 100. Now this time all 100 or 98 are pass, and you have only 2 defects. In the round 3, 2 are also fixed, and you have done a retest. Now in this retest everything is pass. Suppose if you have a round 4 and you are testing same 100 test cases, then you will not have defects. Will you be able to find a defect? No. So if you have same set of test cases, then we will not be able to find new defects in the application. So then what is a solution for this? You might be having question like, can we change the test cases every day, or what should be the solution for this? For this, the solution can be, after some months or after some iteration of testing we have done, we have to change these test cases or increase the test cases. Like some 10 test cases you have added, or 20 test cases you add, remove some test cases, add some test cases. So by changing the test cases, we can find out more and more defects. So with the level of understanding we get about the application, we can find out some alternative scenarios to test, some possible scenarios where we can find or where the application will break. You have to think logically and then analyze and create some test cases to find the defects. So at a particular interval we have to change the test cases, not every day. Fine. So with this we can have this pesticide paradox in control, and we will be able to find a new defects in every testing we do. Yes. So next test principle is testing is context dependent. So testing is different for a different application, different for different operating systems or different applications. So if you have any application which is mobile app, the testing will be different. If you have any application which will be used on the web UI and it is having these features, then it will be different. So Amazon application, it's you can use on a web app or web or app both. So it is how you will test, it will be completely different from if you are testing YouTube, or if you are testing Gmail application, if you are testing any other application, that will be different. So not the different applications will be tested in the same way. It's a context dependent, it's a different, and it's based on the use need, the operating system, the device. It will be different from other applications. So testing will be context dependent. Next test principle is absence of error fallacy. Suppose you tested one application, or one application we have developed, and consider the Amazon application, which is we have used it, so we know. So for example, we have this application and you are saying that there are no defects and entire payment module is missing. Like, because it has so many defects and we want to say that there are no defects in the application and entire payment module is missing, only the images and the description is available, then what is going to be happen? Like, it's of no use. If you do not have payment module, how the people will pay, how revenue will be generated, and what is the use of application which is not having any payment module? They're not going to give for a free. So if you have some entire modules are missing and you are saying that the application is bug free, the application is bug free is of no sense. What is making sense here is how, like, it is developed, or does it have all the features that are expected or given in the requirement, and its objective is met or not. So entirely the focus is on objective is met or not, and what the client wants. So even if there are minor issues, it's fine. Even if there are some issues, or there are, like, even if there is some credit card or one type of card, the payments are not working, still fine. There are other payment options that are working, people will purchase with those other options available. But entire module is missing will not make sense. Just because to say that we have the application which is bug free, we cannot, it it's not useful. So absence of errors is not the objective here. The objective is, are we meeting the client expectations or not? So these are the test principles. So following these test principles, we will do the testing. Now we will see about what is, or what are the testing types in the functional testing. So we are the functional QA. What is functional QA? The functionality is tested like login, logout, add to cart, and payment. Related to this, the features are tested. That is nothing but a functional testing. Non-functional testing is testing the performance of application, load testing, stress testing. Those are non-functional testing. So we are the functional testing team. Non-functional testing team is different. They are performance tester or performance testing team. The team is different. So we will not go in details about the performance or other part of testing. So we will focus on functional testing. And as a functional QA, what are different types of testing that we will perform? We will see. Now, so in the functional testing, when we say functional testing, the first testing in the functional testing is unit testing. Unit testing, as the name suggests, unit is smallest component of the application. Unit means we already know. A smallest component of the application is tested. Okay. So, so the unit testing is done by the developers. Whenever the developer develops a page, that is a unit component. Before developing entire Amazon application, they will develop a home page. So immediately after developing the page or designing the page, the developer will look at the alignment, the labels, the links are working, or the look at the images, or images are available, text is displayed. That is unit testing. Unit testing is done by the developers, and unit testing is also called as white box testing. The testing done by looking at a code is nothing but white box testing. The white box testing is done by the developers or QAs also, but the testing done by looking at a code is white box testing. Okay, so I'll mention here some of the important definitions. So what is white box testing? Testing done by looking at a code. So if you look at a code and do the testing, that is white box testing. Then what is another testing? Then another testing we have is black box testing. So black box testing is done without looking at a code. So we don't bother about code actually. In this black box testing, we never look at a code and then do the testing, that is black box testing. In the white box testing, it's a looking at a code, we do the testing. Now, so all these remaining, the component testing, smoke testing, sanity, interface, regression, these are all are the black box testing types. So apart from unit testing, everything is a in the black box testing. Only unit testing is a type of white box testing, and that is done by the developer. Now, apart from all these unit testing, other testing types are done by the QAs. QAs means functional testing team. The we are the team that we will perform component testing, smoke testing, sanity testing. The different types of testing will be performed. Now, initially, unit testing is done by developer and he will give the application for a testing to the QA. So how the developer will give the testing team to test the application? So he will send a mail saying that these are the features that are developed. Please start the testing. Here the deployment is done, and he will share the URL or some one user or just the URL they will share. Fine. So once as a QA we receive a mail, we will start the testing. So before we actually start in detail testing, we will just quickly check the enough features do we have for the testing. Suppose developer sent a mail, right? So he has done the unit testing and now he is sending us a mail. Consider a scenario that he sent us a mail saying that bestsellers mobiles, the features are developed and deployed, please start the testing, and he sent us this URL. And then we will paste the URL and we will launch, and we will check initially that okay, bestsellers, there is a, okay, the features are available, the links are available, and we will click on the mobiles and check, because they said in the mail that bestseller and mobile is done. Or if they say like bestseller, mobile and customer service, these three features are developed, so we will quickly check the application is stable, application has enough features, or the links are working, it's not breaking, the basic flow is working. Okay, then we test the in detail later on. So initially in the 10 minutes we do the smoke and sanity testing. What we do initially, when once we get a mail, we do the smoke and sanity testing as a quick check when we get the build for the testing. So build means the application is deployed, installed, available at this URL for the testing. That information will be given to QA team, and we do the smoke and sanity testing. So smoke and sanity testing is the quick check that QA does. Clear? Now you might be having question, what is the difference between smoke and sanity then? So when we perform smoke and sanity, both the testing, why the two names are there, or what is the difference? Now we will look at the difference. Fine. So now this is our team. There is a development team. They sent us a mail. So they sent us a mail and then we are checking the smoke and sanity. Now we will have the note of smoke and sanity. So important definitions, we are going to make a note here. So what is smoke testing? Smoke testing is called, like the initial quick check is called smoke testing when your application is new. So suppose the application means Amazon is in the newly development phase. Newly development phase, and you are testing, and it's a new in the development, and you are checking that the application has, like application is stable and has enough features for the testing. Like we have links available so that we can continue the testing, that is smoke testing. Now when we say sanity testing, in the sanity testing, if your application is in the maintenance, means it's already developed, 1 or 2 years completed, and it's in the maintenance, means you are developing from 1 2 years and it is in the maintenance. And when it is in the maintenance, then we do the sanity testing. Then what is sanity testing actually? So in the sanity testing, when it is in the maintenance, you might be having little understanding that maintenance means your application is already developed, means all these features are already available. For example, we will consider an example, Amazon TV, like Amazon Mini TV, bestsellers, mobile, customer service, today's reel, all these features are available. Now, in this maintenance of the application, you might have added some feature in the primes. Okay, some ad free music is added. Previously, there was free delivery and latest movies and TV shows. Then, later in the prime, ad free music is added. For this enhancement, you have to do the testing. So you will get a mail. So even in the maintenance testing, we will get a mail that the code is deployed and you have to start the testing. Then when you get a mail that start the testing, obviously we will look at the stability of our application. So at that particular moment when you have features already tested. So we will test that, okay, application is not breaking, means no page is showing 503 error, and it is when you click there are pages displayed, the basic flow is working, there is no, like, application is not breaking for any of the basic flow. Now in this you will search something, something like iPhone, you search and add it to cart, and because of that new feature application is stable, it's not breaking. That we do test in the sanity testing, means in the sanity testing the focus is on the application flow is working and the features are available and its basic flow is working. Now smoke testing, what was the difference? We were thinking about, because it's a new application, so we will focus on bestseller has enough of links. If for example you have bestseller as a link available but there are no options available, can we do the testing? For example, I'll repeat a question. For example, if you have bestseller as a feature developed but there is no links available in the left side, can we do the testing of the bestseller feature? No, right? We have enough features developed, then only we can perform the testing. So in the smoke testing our main focus is on, do we have enough feature to test or not? And in the sanity testing our focus is on the flow is working, basic flow is working, application is not breaking for any of the basic flow that we perform. We find a uh, any item, then place it to the cart and then place a order, then return that order. So basic flow is working fine, and application is not breaking. That is where we see as a sanity testing the things. So when your application is in the maintenance we do the sanity testing, and when application is in the new development we do the smoke testing. Now this is clear, right everyone? Now
Yes.
when we have, yes, thank you for confirming. Now you can type it in the chat also, guys. I will parallelly look at the chat, and you can type it in if you have any questions or able to understand quickly, you can type it in the chat. Now, so developer sent us a mail and we are done with smoke testing. For example, now our application is in the newly development phase and we completed the smoke testing. After 10 minutes of, like, in 10 minutes we have to complete the smoke testing, 10 or max 15 minutes after we get a mail. Then in those 10 minutes we tested and we feel like okay, everything is perfectly fine, we can continue with the testing, and we will send a reply to dev team that smoke testing has been passed, QA team will continue with in detailed testing. And okay, this will be the mail. What is the mail that we will reply? Saying that smoke testing has been passed, QA will continue the testing, and thanks. Fine. Now your application is in the maintenance, then what we do the reply? Sanity testing has been passed, QA will continue the testing. So in the sanity testing we can write application is stable and sanity testing is passed, and we will continue the testing. So do we have or can we continue the testing or not? That is the main objective of smoke and sanity, right? So if you reply or if you feel that some things are not working, initially you got a mail and you feel that some things are not working fine in the bestseller or in some features, the features are not available, we will quickly take a screenshot, send a mail saying that smoke testing has been failed, QA will not continue the testing, please fix the issues. And issue number 1, issue number 2, we will send a reply. So it is not defect we are reporting, it is we are rejecting the build. Rejecting the build means we are not able to continue it, it is, or it will not make any sense to test when there are entire feature of list of features are missing. We cannot do the testing. So it's not the defect, it's rejecting the build. We are saying that we will not continue the testing if smoke or sanity testing is failed. If smoke or sanity testing is failed, we will not continue the testing. So these testings are the criteria to continue or not. Fine. Now in the maintenance we are, and we see that somewhere the application is breaking, like you are, when you are searching some items, you are able to get some invalid results or 503 page and items not found page, or you are not able to add to the cart, then we will reply saying that these are the issues, sanity testing has been failed, QA will not continue the testing. Simply we will reject the build saying that these are the issues and we will not continue. So this is the power of QA. As a QA you can accept the build for the testing or reject the build. So when you accept, it means you are continuing with the testing. If you reject, means you will not continue with the testing. Fine. So smoke and sanity testing, about this. So this is about smoke and sanity testing. I hope everyone is clear with smoke and sanity. Now, this was the first testing that we have done as a QA. Now we will see component testing. So after smoke sanity testings are passed and we have some module to test. And the module testing is nothing but component testing. In this component testing, we have the each and every component, sub module, sub component. Like in the bestsellers, we have bestsellers, hot new releases, movers, and this most wished for and most gifted. Like these are sub modules. So in the module, we have sub modules that also we test, and we have positive negative scenarios to test this. So we will write some test cases and we will see what different positive negative scenarios are. For now, understand that in the component testing we are going to test the each and every page in the component. That is component testing. In the component, like in the module, what submodules we have, what pages we have, all the pages, all the descriptions or items we will test. Do we have all the details displayed correctly or not? For that module, whatever is the requirement for that module, we test the module, that is component testing. So in the component testing, we will do the modules individually. The tested components are individual, like bestsellers will be tested individual module, not in the collaboration with other modules. So these, like this module has sub modules and sub module has pages, and we are able to see the details. We will not integrate it with another module or have the testing with integration. So integration testing is another testing we have. So in the integration interface testing, we do everything, like in the system testing, in the later phase of testing, we do that integration. So now in the component testing, we will test only one component and find the defects related to that component. Okay. Now in the mobiles, we will only test about mobiles. Do we have all the mobiles or all types of mobiles, all the options available as per the requirement, all the brands as per the requirement are available, and these are the like features that we test individually for that module. Now in the next type of testing, like after component testing is done, like if your modules are working fine individually, now we are good to start with integration testing, and system as a complete we will do the testing. So what is system as a complete we do the testing, that is system testing. Like as a system, a complete how it is working, like all the modules collectively, how they are communicating, how you are searching some item from a bestseller, one item from a mobiles, one item from a other modules, and you add it to the cart, make a payment, place the order, and collectively how the application is working, that we test in the integration testing. And in the system testing, we do the testing of application on different operating systems. Like we have different operating systems, Mac OS, Windows, and mobile devices, or a tab. So on different operating systems, Linux system or other operating systems, how it is working as a system, a complete, we test on different operating system, that is system testing. Fine. So we did the smoke and sanity, then we did the component testing, then we did the system integration testing and system testing. So now the testing is done, like all these different types of testings are done. Now in this testing, obviously we will find the defects. Consider that we found some defects, and like this only we will take the same example now. For example, we have 100 test cases and 80 are pass, 20 are fail. Now, in the again retesting the defects, 20 we will retest. What is 20? These are failed ones. For sure they were failed, so we will retest. Obviously, we have to retest. And remaining, like out of 100, 80 were pass. But because of the code change for this 20 are failed, we have to make sure that this 80 is also working. Getting my question? My question is here. You have 100 test cases and out of 100, 80 are pass, 20 are fail. So this 20 are fail are, and for this 20 failed, when you report it to developer, the developer has to change the code. Yes or no? He has to change the code for 20. You have 100 test cases for Amazon. 20 are failed. And for that 20 failed, maybe like today's deal is not working or payments are not working, add to cart is not working, like that we have 20 defects. For these 20 defects, the developer needs to change the code. And while changing the code, it can happen that whatever 80 are pass now may fail, right? They may fail. Maybe I'm not saying for sure 80 will fail. Maybe some cases which were already passed may fail. Yes. So if we do the retesting of 20, it is not enough. We also have to test some test cases from these 80 which are passed, so that we get a confidence. Yes, these out of 80 are also not getting or not impacted, and we are fine, and the code is working fine. Yes, we have to do that confirmation or not. Yes. Yes. So that testing is called regression testing. So this is regression testing. So what is regression testing? In the regression testing, we do that the already tested features are working fine or not. Because of the code change, the features which are tested are working fine or not. That we test in the regression testing. Very important. What is regression testing? So people get confused here. So due to code change, the working features are not impacted. So we do the testing, regression testing. The main objective of regression testing is to check that the working features are working fine even after the code change. Already tested features, or else you can write already tested features are working fine even after code change. So there are chances of failures. There are chances. So everything entirely is a one code, one application. So if the developer is fixing the code for today's deal may be some issue for all deals they have fixed, but that code fix got because of that, or any code, other code which was working maybe not working because of the code which is updated, the new defect can be introduced, or one thing is working but other thing is again failing. So for that we have to do the regression testing to reconfirm that the tested features are working fine. So this is about regression testing. Okay, now what is interface testing, we will see. So interface testing is the APIs that we have. So actually application user, this is interface testing is API, application programming interface, and this API testing is nothing but a interface testing. So interface testing where we perform the testing of these APIs. So what is API? We will see at the end of this training. We are going to cover about API also. But in short, now I'll tell what is API. Fine. Now everyone knows this is front end. This is developed in HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. I'll create a diagram here. So front end which is developed in HTML plus CSS plus JavaScript, and using these technologies the front end is developed. Now, so front end I will design like this, and it has labels, images, okay, the links available, items are available, so all these things are available, menus are available, options are available. This is front end. Okay, fine. Now we know that whatever we are able to see on a front end, the data is stored in the database. Yes, and this database can be Oracle, MySQL, Postgres, anything. Now, so database generally represented like this, and we have the data. So in this actually the data is stored. Whenever you are searching something, the data is available and it will be displayed on a UI. So the request will go, and okay, the request will go and we get a response. Okay, we get a response for the request that you are requesting. What you are requesting? You are requesting for any item you want to search. So who is able to give you this, the request or response, like who is taking this request and able to give you the response is API. So this is API, application programming interface, and where actually the business logic is implemented. So business logic is implemented, and actually the APIs do the all work. So front end is just it is displaying, database is actually storing the data, and you have the APIs that are taking the request and providing you the response. Fine. Now, the testing of these APIs is interface testing. We will see how we do the testing of APIs in detail again. Now, in short, where the APIs are available and what the API is and what we test, the testing about APIs is nothing but interface testing. Yes, clear? Application architecture is clear, and where the APIs are available between the front end and database, we have the API. So now we have so many people are from non IT, so many are new. For just understand that behind your this front end there are APIs. Just understand that behind the screens of UI which you are able to see, when you click on something this URL is getting changed, when you click on something it's changing, because the API endpoint is getting called, we are getting the response. So this request is changing, that is behind this UI there are APIs. You can just understand in simple that behind the screens there is the code available, that is nothing but a API. Okay, simple, clear. Now we will see about the last type of testing, user acceptance testing. So user acceptance testing, with the name only you can understand, when user is accepting the software, like just before he accepts he will do the testing, like before we release to the market or give it to the client, we do the user interface testing. So sorry, user acceptance testing. So what is user acceptance testing, or what scenarios they will test in this? They will test like real time scenarios. As in the testing we know that we use dummy data for a testing, but in the UAT there might be the real time of, or some data which is kind of a real will be used. So Amazon will be installed on some devices like this app, and they will try to place order, and how application is tracking the orders, how the delivery is given, that will be tested in the user acceptance testing. While in the testing when we perform smoke sanity component, only the dummy data might be used for the testing, only we focus on the features. So in the user acceptance testing it will be tested like how it works in the real time, and will it work or not, what are the most important features that we have to release in the market, and are those are working or not, the basic application features, all positive scenarios, what are or what should work, that will be tested. So again the client will do the testing. So user acceptance testing, this can be done or might be done by the client people. So where we have the client, so these are the client. Now QA did the all types of testing. We have done smoke testing, sanity testing, component testing, and system testing. Now the client will do the UAT testing, or client side people will do the UAT testing. They might be the client people or a QAs who are sitting at a client, they will do this user acceptance testing. So before formally accepting the application, for the completion of work they will do the testing, that is user acceptance testing. So generally what happens as a QA, when we test you may be able to find 100 defects or 1000 defects, but the UAT testing will be done with some real time data, and with that understanding about application, the clients will have more understanding about application, so they may be able to find quality defects or some more defects than the QA can find. So to find those faults in the application by the experts who understand actually the requirement, or who are part of designing the requirement, they will do this UAT testing. Okay, and this is about the types of testing. Clear? Fine. So we have all this, like what are the types of testing we have. Now we will see what is test process, like what is the process of testing. Till now we discussed about what are the types. Now we will discuss about what is the process of testing, how we do the testing. So Whenever we have to test something, we have to understand it. Like in the understanding, we have planning and control, then analyze and design, like analysis and design. So what we do in each step, we will see what we do in this each step. So before we see the test process, I'll give some example of how we plan something when we have some trips, or if you are planning a trip, what will be your planning process? Like what is the process of your planning for a trip, execution, and like everything. When you plan, you will think of like what is the budget, what are the routes available, what is the destination, how many people you are going to go, and then later you will analyze as well. Like you will plan initially based on the budget, based on the people, based on the destination, then we analyze and design and then execute. Like you have to start the travel on that day, reach to the destination, visit the points that you plan, and then come back and your trip will end. In the same way, when we test, we have to plan the testing activities, what we are going to test, how many people we need for the testing, what is a budget, do we need a senior people, do we need the juniors, what kind of a skill set is needed, do we need automation QAs or the manual QAs, and if we need automation QAs, then what is a tool that we need the people to know or the resources to know, that will go in the planning. Like before we start the testing, as a manager, these things needs to be planned. So when I say planning, the planning will be done obviously by the management or a lead. In the planning for a QA process, they will initially plan how many resources we need, what is the skill set is needed, what are the tools the resources should know, what is the budget, and based on that budget, they will hire senior junior QAs and they will form the team. So now the team is available. Now we will start the testing, the process of testing. In that, first thing is analysis means understand and analyze, like what is the requirement of a client, what they want, that is needed to be understood first in order to do the testing. So in analysis and design, the understanding of requirement is done and later designing is done. Design means design the test scenarios, what test scenarios that we need to test. For a login to test, we will design a scenario that verify that user is able to log in, verify that user is able to search a item, verify that user is able to add the item to cart. Like this different scenarios we will design, and we will create set of scenarios and keep that. Now the scenarios are done, understanding is done in the analysis and design phase. Now third step is implement and execute. So now in this, whatever the test scenarios we designed, like 100 test scenarios. What are 100 test scenarios? For example, so 100 test scenarios can be like this. Test scenarios, verify that user is able to log in with valid username, valid password. These are the scenarios. These scenarios will be developed or designed. Design means you have to write. So design by understanding the requirements. So in the analysis phase, what is done in the analysis phase? Understand the requirement. So requirements can be in this format, like requirement 101, user is able to log in with valid username and password. User is able to search items, mobiles, electronics, fashion, these are the items, or these are the categories of the items that should be available. So in detail requirements will be given. Here also it is in short, but in real time it will be the long document, have so many requirements and details about requirement, and reading each requirement line by line we will create a scenario. These are the scenarios, some of the sample scenarios we have, and we will design these scenarios tomorrow for the application. So now today we will just understand what is the test process. So in the analysis and design, we will understand and design the scenarios. Next is Next is implement and execute. Means what? Now in this, whatever you created scenarios, you have to execute. Execute means open the application, log in with the username and password and check that login is working. So you are executing this, means testing this. Whatever the design of the test cases you have done, you have to execute, and in the execution you will come across some things are fine, that are passed, some things are not working as expected, that will be failed. So for a test scenario we will have test case. Test case is in detail. For each scenario there might be different or multiple test cases. Test case is having the steps in detail about what we are going to test, and in the implementation and execution phase we do the testing, and we do the testing means we will write pass or fail. So actually what is there, we write, and we write pass or fail. Now evaluating exit criteria and reporting. In this we will evaluate like when to stop the testing and report the status to client. So exit criteria means what? When to stop. So when we actually stop the testing, when the client budget is over, when the client is saying that stop the testing, I do not have budget, we will stop the testing. Another test exit criteria is we tested all the test scenarios and we will stop the testing. So whatever features or whatever the test cases, we have 100 test cases and we tested all 100, we will stop the testing and we will report the status to client saying that 100 test cases are tested and testing is done. So now I'm just saying 100 as an example. No application will have just 100 test cases. There will be thousands of test cases and there will be multiple people working on all those test cases. So as an example, I said 100, but in real time there will be thousands of test cases. All the test cases, the report will be shared to client. Then finally testing will be closed. So closing activities like retesting the bugs or whatever, like we have reporting and then closing the testing activities. So this is the process of testing that we do. Clear? So now we will see some practicals on the test case design tomorrow. What is the requirement we get actually, then what we design the scenarios and what test cases we write, how we report the defects, everything we will see in the next class. Okay guys, and also we will discuss about RTM, requirement traceability matrix. What is RTM, what is defect, defect report, test cases, scenarios. We will see the practicals on this. The types of testing and testing process and testing principles. I hope everyone is clear with this. Now, after the practicals, we will discuss agile methodology, how actually the agile methodology is used. Every project is using agile methodology and Scrum framework. So, what is Scrum framework? What are the advantages? All these topics we will be discussing in the coming sessions. So, then we will have some interview questions and answers, and then we'll start with the automation testing. Okay, so any questions guys?
No.
No, good. Yes, good guys, thank you, have a great day.
Thanks for the session. Have a good day.
Thank
Yeah,
you, Priya.
thank you guys. Yes, thank you guys.